The story follows a man named Oka, who is painfully aware of his unattractive looks, but has learned to accept them while living a modest, content life. One day, however, everything changes when a girl falsely accuses him of harassment. To his horror, everyone sees the adult games he bought and instantly assumes he's guilty. Realizing that society is cruel to people like him, Oka chooses to plead guilty just to escape further humiliation. Years later, we learn that the woman who framed him was eventually arrested for making false accusations against other men she deemed ugly. Yet because she was a minor at the time, she only received probation. Meanwhile, Oka's life spiraled downward. Oka unable to find work, he withdrew from society and lived shut in at his parents' home. In the present, Oka spends his days online until he comes across a mysterious forum post about people suddenly disappearing in the city. He dismisses it as a prank, but with nothing better to do, he decides to follow the guide and attempt reincarnation. Suddenly, a strange notification pops up, asking if he's ready to start a new life. It warns that to return, he must sacrifice half his lifespan, assuming it's some kind of virus. Oka still clicks next. A character creation screen appears. He lowers his appearance stat to the absolute minimum, which earns him bonus points. Then he discovers a notes section. Instead of giving himself advantages, he cruelly handicaps himself, reducing his income to zero. By stacking these self-imposed curses, he amasses over 100 trillion bonus points. But before he can allocate them into his attributes, the time runs out, and he is teleported into another world. The next day, Oka wakes up in his new body and encounters other reincarnators who went through the same ritual. He notices a boy named Sage who's happily chatting with the girls, but Oka avoids socializing and starts searching for useful starter items. He finds a coin, but it disappears, reminding him of the penalty he placed on himself where he can't earn money. Later, when the group shares their collected coins, they realize one is missing. Suspicion falls on Oka. Though hurt by their distrust, he explains he doesn't need money and gives up his share. Oka then asks if he can take a weapon instead. During the distribution, they settle it with rock, paper, scissors. Oka wins a club, while Sage takes the axe. Sage offers a handshake, but Oka refuses, determined not to repeat mistakes from his old life, and decides he'll eventually leave the group to go solo. When they open the door, they are ambushed by goblins. Sage kills one instantly, then organizes the others to fight alongside him. Oka guards Seika as she prepares her bow. He notices Seika fumbling with her bowstring. Before he can act, a goblin charges at him. He swings his club but fails to hurt it. Seika is shocked by how weak he is. The goblin injures his leg, dropping him to his knees. Confused, Oka remembers he never allocated his massive bonus points before teleporting. Furious at his misfortune, he lashes out in rage, striking the goblin down. To his surprise, he instantly levels up to 31, thanks to a hidden 10,000x experience multiplier. When he invests 1 trillion points into each stat, his body glows with divine energy as the system declares him an absolute god. Another goblin attacks, but its blows feel like nothing. Oka tests his new strength by flicking its head and sends it flying. He realizes he has become absurdly overpowered. Seeing Seika still struggling with her bowstring, Oka helps her by lying that he suffers from a fake illness called bowstring syndrome, claiming he'll die if he doesn't drive. Amused, she hands it over, and he flawlessly strings it with his maxed out dexterity. She asks him to take the first shot, carefully avoiding touching her. He activates his skill Ultimate Destruction Shot. The arrow shoots upward and vanishes until a massive magic circle opens in the sky, summoning a dragon that annihilates the goblins below. The others are stunned. While Oka casually claims he was in the archery club, Seika tries to handle the next wave herself, but misses every shot. To help without raising suspicion, Oka secretly creates arrows with his craftsmanship skill and pretends she dropped them. She continues firing but still misses, while Sage and Ritsu finish off the enemies. Concerned for Seika, Oka decides to remain with the group until they reach their destination. They arrive at the town of Aria and are delighted to find a hamburger restaurant. While the others go inside, Oka chooses to stay outside, clinging to his isolated lifestyle. Sitting near a fountain, hunger gnaws at him since he can't afford food. To his surprise, Seika appears and offers him food. Embarrassed, he reaches for it but accidentally brushes her fingers. His curse activates, dealing him 50 trillion damage and shattering the burger against the wall. Seika misunderstands, believing he rejected her gift. Thinking quickly, Oka flatters her beauty, claiming he was so nervous his hands trembled. Relieved, Seika offers him her second burger, which she insists he take. Deeply moved, Oka eats gratefully and decides to stay with the group until he can repay her kindness. After finishing breakfast, Sage tells the group that they should get ready for their next journey. Seika, however, suggests that they explore the city first. Just then, a man named Shiru interrupts, asking if they are headed to Arca Cave. He explains that such a place requires a skilled navigator. Shiru goes on to reveal that he, too, is a reincarnated adventurer, which unsettles Oka. On the way, they're attacked by goblins. Seika lets loose several arrows, but misses each target. Shiru advises her to conserve her ammunition. Following his advice, Seika takes careful aim and finally hits a goblin, impressing everyone. As they move on, Shiru trains both Ritsu and Sage, while Seika continues practicing on trees, still failing to land her shots. Shiru notices Oka isn't training at all. Shiru then mentions that clubs have a devastating special move. Oka knows this is true. He recalls going outside the town to craft arrows, where he encountered a massive orc. He attempted to use his strongest club ability, but the system warned him that activating it would wipe out everything. Shiru tells Oka to participate more actively in battles or risk an early retirement like himself. He confesses that he was once part of a mercenary company, but quite after noticing the immense gap between his strength and the captain's. That same captain eventually became a king, reaching level 80 with an average status of 160. Shiru assumes Oka is impressed, but Oka is actually shocked by how weak the king sounds. Soon, they reach the cave entrance. Judging by its appearance, Oka thinks it will be an intriguing challenge. Inside, he notices Seika trembling, and he wonders if she's still a child. She marvels at the stalactites, though Shiru warns they could fall, making Sage question her age. Sage politely asks how old she is. Seika surprises them by answering 17, as they had assumed she was younger. Shiru leads them deeper inside, where they face bats and defeat them with ease. They then come across a huge door. Seika gets excited, but hesitates when she sees no one opening it. Shiru warns that it leads to the boss's chamber. Frightened, she hides behind Ritsu. Sage proposes they call it a day, but Shiru insists he has a special plan for them. He guides them into a chamber he claims is a safe zone where neither monsters nor magic can intrude. Seika notices a table of snacks, and Shiru explains it's a welcome party for adventurers who've come this far. But Oka quickly realizes the food is laced with anesthetic poison. Confident it won't affect him, he watches as Sage declines politely, saying they must return before dark. Shiru reassures them it's fine and he won't insist. Sage suddenly apologizes, admitting he misjudged Shiru earlier, but now sees him as trustworthy. Everyone begins to enjoy the snacks. Oka tries to stall for time so he can secretly use antidote magic. He casually asks about their past lives, but the question shocks everyone, and he realizes it's too sensitive. Sage offers to share his story instead. The scene flashes back to Sage's previous life as a student. He later founded his own company, Success Life, which Oka recognizes from his own past experience. Sage recalls when a salesman once came to sell them a machine. This motherfucker wasn't listening and Sage left his company and began traveling while growing his business. His company prospered for a while but eventually went bankrupt due to issues involving AI development. He regretted not hearing out that salesman before leaving his old world. He promised never to let people down again. Everyone is moved by his story. Sage reveals that the salesman's name was Mr. Shigaru, then asks Oka for his surname. Knowing he was the salesman in question, Oka lies and says it's Sasaki. Suddenly, everyone collapses from the drugged food, except Oka, who remains awake. They cuff Oka's hands, reminding him of his false conviction in his former life. With his allies unconscious, Oka considers unleashing his full strength. But then Sage unexpectedly rises despite being under the influence of the drug, warning them not to touch his friends. He condemns them as the worst kind of people, saying he won't forgive them if they hurt his companions. Shiru mocks him and orders his men to bind them, but Oka uses his body weight to knock them down. Sage urges Oka to escape, claiming he can defeat their enemies with a single strike. Shiru orders his men to attack, and Oka fights, but they overwhelm him with dirty tactics. Anger. Sage reveals his ultimate ability, which he gained by investing all his bonus points into a vow never to betray his friends. He explains that his skill activates when he's furious. They don't take him seriously, and Shiro slashes at him, but Oka blocks with his shackles. Sage asks Oka to step aside. Sage transforms, sprouting wings, shocking everyone, and reveals his true name, All Dying. That's all for today. If you like this, comment below.